Hi guys, so today I'm going to be talking to you about how you can make your travel a little bit more affordable and probably give you some tips about things you may not have thought of and ways that you can save money while travelling. So this is Kate's Compass, let's get started. I recently made a video about the best travel websites that I use when I'm organising a trip. A lot of these websites can help you save money, so if you haven't checked that out already, go and do that now. One of the websites I mentioned in that video was Skyscanner. One of the best things that you can do with this website is if you're flexible about where you want to go, then you can put where you want to fly from or several different airports about where you want to fly from, just do several different searches, and then put everywhere or flexible. And this will basically list the cheapest to the most expensive flights that you can get from that airport. It does tend to be the bigger airports that tend to have the better deals. Skyscanner is also great if you're not as flexible with where you want to be going. It just basically searches all the different travel websites and finds you the best deal with any particular airline. Skyscanner is something I use constantly because there's no point in forking out any more money than you need to for the exact same flight. Just as a side tip, if you think that the site it's taking you on is a little bit dodgy, it shouldn't be. But if it is, then check on STA if they can price match it for you. If they can, you'll get the exact same flight with the exact same airline, you're just booking it with STA. Also with flights, if you're planning on traveling continuously, look into loyalty cards and air miles. Even if you tend to travel with several different airlines, it's worth getting the loyalty cards, even if you only save £30, £40, $40 along the way. There are other ways to gain air miles other than flying. One of the things that I've done recently is I got one of the free American Express British Airways cards, and if you spend a certain amount within 3 months, then you get a set amount of air miles. This worked really well for me. I had quite a large sum to pay, so I got the card just before I knew I was going to have to pay that large sum, and it turned out that I actually managed to get the 9,000 air miles that I wouldn't have got anyway. Just as a warning with credit cards, you need to be making sure that you're going to pay that money back straight away, and this is not going to be great for any financial situation. Combined travel passes are a really great idea. Let's say you're doing a tour of Europe, there's no point in paying for each individual train if you're going a certain distance. You're probably better off buying an Interrail pass. Just look at all the different passes that they have and see if it works for you. This might not necessarily be the case, so again, do your research and make sure that it is the right plan for you. Make sure that you can go all the places you want to go on that pass, and just make sure that you're not spending more money on the pass than if you were buying the tickets individually. I would say in general though that the Interrail passes do tend to be quite a good deal. Chances are there'll be some pretty cool places around you that you didn't even think about going to. If you live nearby, then chances are you don't even have to fly. You could even look at coach deals and things like that. But there are always a lot more transport options than you might think. In terms of your accommodation, there are so many other options than the hotel you might have been looking at. Obviously there are hostels. To get the price even further down, some hostels offer the chance to work within them, so you can basically work on the front desk or clean the rooms for however many hours a day, and you basically get the room for free. So accommodation is one of the biggest costs you kind of have while you're traveling. So having the accommodation for free for some work in exchange is a really good option if you think you're going to be struggling for funding. One option that people don't even think about is that you can go camping in other countries. Granted, you've either got to find a tent or you've got to bring one with you, but this definitely isn't impossible. And the cost of going camping in a country compared to the cost of a hotel or even a hostel at times can be dramatically different. Just be aware that if you can't fit your tent into your rucksack, then you may have to pay extra to store it in the luggage hold or as a carry-on. Be aware of this so that you've already paid for the extra baggage, because if you get to the airport and you haven't paid for the extra baggage, then it is going to be so much more expensive. In terms of other options for accommodation, there is couch surfing. I haven't done this myself, I am not sure how safe it is, but it is a legitimate website where you can find people who basically say that it's okay for you to sleep on their sofa or a spare bed. Another website I mentioned in my websites video was workaway.com. This is a great opportunity to kind of go on an exchange and do some work in a farm or a hostel, or even doing like programming and things like that. It depends on your skills. I really like the idea of this just because it would be a great way to kind of immerse yourself in the culture and really get to know the local people a little bit more. Again, I haven't done this personally, but the people that are on the website are rated, and I do have a friend that did it. She worked in a farm in Costa Rica and she had an amazing time and really enjoyed it and met some really great volunteers as well. So it's a great idea to meet people if you're traveling solo. There are a lot of companies that will literally rip you off to try and get you to go on a work abroad program when you could do it so much cheaper either yourself or even with another company. The summer camp programs for the US do tend to be a little bit better value than some of the other work abroad programs. It does depend on which company you're going with. I personally went with AmeriCamp and absolutely loved it. Another great opportunity is International Citizen Service. Don't do this one if you're looking for a holiday. This is volunteer work where you go out there, you work for several months, and then you come back and you do a project at home. You generally have to raise £800, and then they pay for your flights, they pay for your accommodation, and even things like your vaccination and visa. In another video I've mentioned recently that I worked as a trip rep. This was a great opportunity to travel for cheap. In terms of finding those jobs, then they range from like a weekend position all the way up to kind of a set position where you are a rep in a set country. They do them all over the world for things like skiing. I know there are similar positions in Indonesia. After I came back from summer, I started working for AmeriCamp, and that's how I got my rep position, but this definitely isn't the only way to do it. I'd recommend just searching on Google and seeing what you can find. Traveling with friends can also be a great way to keep the costs down. If you're traveling in a large group, it might actually be cheaper to rent a car between you than to buy several train passes. You can also save money from traveling in a group through things like Airbnb, just because they tend to charge one set rate rather than a rate per person. So you can get a really nice place to stay for sometimes the same cost as some of the hostels. So if you're traveling in a large group, definitely look into that. Sometimes if you're on a budget, there's only so far you can go. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, it just means that you're going to be going a little bit closer to home. It's obviously a lot cheaper to fly to Europe than it is to fly to South America. In terms of your time of travel, maybe think about traveling off season. Sometimes places do discounts when you're going off season and things just tend to get a little bit cheaper because people really want to get the tourists in. But booking last minute can also be a bit of a hit and miss. Sometimes you make great savings, sometimes you pay a little bit more. It's worth looking into if you are flexible, especially with where you want to be going and what times you can be going. It's definitely worth looking into, but be aware that sometimes you may pay a little bit more, sometimes you may make a great saving with things like last minute bookings. The final tip for budget travel is to basically do your research, look at loads of different websites, see where the cheapest places are, and just remember that there are plenty of other ways to save money than just the standard backpacking options. Thank you for watching Kate's Compass. If you'd like to stay up to date with my latest videos, then please subscribe. If you like this video or have any questions, please leave a comment below. All the links related to this video are in the description, and you can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook as well.